This weekend I took several test shots with all the new action cameras when skiing. I wanted to find out which is the best camera for this purpose. A video will follow soon. In doing so, I really realized all the strengths and weaknesses of the Insta360 X4 compared to the other action cameras. That's why I asked myself the following question. After 6 months and certainly hundreds of shots, would I still recommend the X4 to you today? So today I've summarized for you what I consider to be the 10 decisive strengths and also the 5 weaknesses of the Insta360 X4. I think the first strength is quite obvious, and it's a strength that basically every 360 camera has: the reframing. It's simply a huge advantage if you can take a shot and then choose the right framing in post. You can also take 360 shots with the X4 and then play them back as 360 shots, but I think very few people will do that. Rather, it's just cool to press record without any major worries and have the certainty that you can still adjust the framing in post so that it's correct. I think most people are less aware of the second strength. The Insta360 X4 has an extremely wide field of view. The standard field of view of an X4 shot is significantly wider than the field of view of a conventional action camera, such as a GoPro or the Action 5 Pro. And that's a big advantage, especially for action shots. The extremely wide viewing angle results in a very immersive look, and it's relatively easy to get everything important in the frame. The Insta360 X4 also has a very wide field of view in single lens mode, which is also significantly wider than that of other action cameras. In single lens mode, you can take traditional non-360 shots. In other words, shots like with a standard camera that you don't have to reframe. In single lens mode, you can shoot in 4K at up to 60 frames per second, and especially in good lighting conditions, the image quality of a single lens shot from the X4 is difficult to distinguish from a shot of a conventional action camera. This is great and makes the Insta360 X4 a versatile camera. Unfortunately, however, the X4 is not particularly suitable for every type of shot. As with any other 360 camera, the X4 also has 2 sensors, and as you can imagine, these are not very large. Of course, this has disadvantages in low light conditions. Although I've made a detailed tutorial on how you can achieve decent results with the X4 in low light, it's best to use this camera in daylight and very good lighting conditions. Only then will you achieve optimum image quality. As I mostly use the X4 as an action camera, this is not such a big problem for me, but if you are looking for an all-purpose camera for traveling, you need to consider whether it's the right choice. One area where the X4 outperforms every action camera, however, is stabilization. This is perhaps also somewhat surprising. Of course, the Insta360 X4 also benefits from the extremely wide field of view. After all, the wider the field of view, the more stable the shot will look. And the X4 produces action shots that simply look incredibly stable and smooth. And I don't think many people realize that either. I published a couple of shorts showing the difference between the X4 and the other current action cameras like the Action 5 or the Hero 13. And the typical comment was, "This video is fake, it can't be," and so on. Many simply couldn't believe that the X4 is so superior to the other cameras in terms of stabilization. For me, the fantastic stabilization is one of the X4's great strengths. And of course, this also applies to the invisible selfie stick effect. When you take a 360 shot, the selfie stick is automatically removed from the shot. This means that no further editing is necessary. This is of course another advantage that every 360 camera has. However, this effect has been implemented particularly well on the X4, and the stick's attachment is barely recognizable. It's always cool and interesting to see what effect this has on your shot. Incidentally, you don't have to use a special selfie stick for this. Basically, any normal stick will do the trick. The only important thing is that the camera is mounted straight on the selfie stick. In recent years, several action camera manufacturers have introduced a feature that allows you to use the app to remove the selfie stick from a traditional shot taken with a non-360 camera. This is also possible with Insta360 and recordings from the Ace Pro or Ace Pro 2. However, this effect is applied in the app in post and is more like editing an image in Photoshop. Depending on the situation, artifacts may well be visible. In addition, the effect is usually only available in a low resolution and for a short clip. This feature can therefore not be compared with the invisible selfie stick effect of a 360 camera. The Insta360 X4 can shoot at up to 8K, and the improved image quality is certainly one of the strengths of this camera. But you have to reframe each 360 shot and select the desired framing. Basically, you are cropping the 360 image. Of course, this means that the image you end up exporting will have a reduced resolution. Ultimately, you will end up with a 2.7K image. If you mainly watch your recordings on your smartphone or use them for social media, This is generally not too much of a problem. On a larger screen, however, we are now used to high resolution recordings. And of course, the reduced image quality is somewhat noticeable, even if the difference is no longer that great, especially with 8K recordings. In 8K, only frame rates of up to 30 frames per second are available. For 60 frames per second, you have to reduce the resolution even further. And that's when the difference becomes more noticeable. I think, together with the low light performance, this is probably the biggest weakness of the Insta360 X4 and basically all other 360 cameras on the market. On the other hand, it's the reframing in combination with the invisible selfie stick effect that opens up completely new possibilities. If you have even the slightest creative streak and like to try out new things, then you will love this camera. With the X4, you can easily take shots that are not possible with a conventional camera in this form. It's a whole new dimension of filmmaking. When reframing, you can not only freely determine the shooting angle, you can also use keyframes to dynamically adjust the framing during the shot. Particularly if you already own a classic action camera, even if it's already a few years old, the added value of a 360 camera is much greater than the added value you would get if you bought a new action camera with slightly better image quality. For me, the creative aspect is the X4's greatest strength, especially because the X4 offers another big advantage in this context. And that's the many mounts and accessories that Insta360 offers for this camera. It's the many different mounts that make the X4 so versatile. This shot, for example, was taken with the new ski pole mount. The mount disappears completely from the shot. There really are mounts for the X4 for every imaginable sport and activity. You can mount it in the most unusual places, and all mounts are of absolutely high quality. I've made a video about the best and most useful mounts and accessories for the X4. Check it out to see what possibilities this camera offers you. Whilst the creative aspect for me is the great strength of this camera, there is of course a downside. You have to edit and reframe every single 360 shot. Yes, as I said, there is a very good single lens mode, but you can only really benefit from the strength of the X4 when taking 360 shots. Personally, I now have a lot of practice at reframing, and it's quick and easy. Also in the smartphone app, of course. But I can understand, of course, if some people find it too cumbersome. But it's precisely in connection with the reframing that I see another particular strength of the X4. And that is the simple and quick operation of the Insta360 app. If you don't want to keep your subject in the center of the shot using keyframes, you can simply select your subject and have it tracked automatically. Many of the shots I'm showing you today were created using the automatic tracking feature. This can greatly simplify and speed up the reframing process. The app runs absolutely stable. It's super easy to use and also includes a range of additional features if required. So you can not only adjust the viewing angle, but also the distortion. Insta360 has also continued to add new features to the reframing process over time, including cool predefined movements. What's also cool is that the Insta360 app, especially for the X4, offers a variety of additional creative effects to enhance your clips. You can change the sky, add an AI-generated effect to your clip, automatically simulate a drone shot. There are quite a few of these effects. Some are gimmicks, of course. But as I said, especially if you have a creative streak and like to try new things, you can create some really cool clips with the many effects. Earlier I said that the image quality of the X4 has improved a lot, and I meant in comparison to the X3. Unfortunately, the Insta360 X4 also has a disadvantage compared to the X3. The X4 is heavier and larger than the X3, and depending on where and how you mount it, this can be a relevant disadvantage. It's also bigger and heavier than most action cameras on the market. The additional weight is particularly noticeable when you attach it to a helmet. The elongated form factor also contributes to this. It's ideal for a pole, but not for a helmet mount. Personally, I'm not a fan of wearing an action camera on a helmet, but that may be different for you, depending on the intended use. Therefore, the size and weight of the X4 must be seen as one of its weaknesses. On the other hand, the body is also one of the strengths of the Insta360 X4. The X4 is comfortable to hold, it has a very high quality finish, the buttons work well, and it also has a large, good display that is very responsive and easy to use. There is absolutely nothing wrong with the build quality, and that also applies to the functionality of the X4. In the last 6 months, I've never had any problems with overheating, although of course overheating is not such a big problem here in the mountains. Unlike other cameras, the X4 has never caused any problems. I can't remember it ever crashing. The battery is replaceable, and the battery life is absolutely reasonable and sufficient for most purposes. Reliability is therefore one of the great strengths of this camera camera for me. And as you may know, this is not a matter of course in the action camera market. Unfortunately, there is still something that I miss about the X4. Precisely because I mainly use the X4 as an action camera, I miss a high quality slow motion mode. In 5.7K, the highest possible frame rate is 60 frames per second. This allows you to take a slow motion of up to 40% in reasonable quality. For really cool slow motion shots, you need to reduce the resolution further, for 100 frames per second to 4K, and that of course leads to a further reduction in image quality. I would therefore only recommend this setting in special cases. But there is also some very good news. As an exclusive Black Friday deal, the X4 is currently only $425. And if you use the link in the description, you will also receive an exceptionally useful gift, a bullet time kit worth $65. Which includes an invisible selfie stick and a bullet time tripod handle, which you can use not only for the bullet time effect, but also as a mini tripod. To summarize, even after 6 months, I would still say that the X4 is an absolutely great camera. What I love most about this camera are the endless possibilities offered by the reframing, the invisible selfie stick effect, and the easy to use app. Yes, of course, better low light performance, and a smaller form factor would be cool. If you are interested in how the X4 compares to the X3 or how all the features of the X4 work, you can find the corresponding videos on my channel. I'll put links to these videos and the other videos mentioned today in the video description. If this video was interesting for you, give me a like as feedback. There will be more videos about the X4, so stay tuned and see you next time.